Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite, I wouldn't call them romance, but books with my favorite romances in them. I'm also going to be talking about actual romances, but also two books that aren't classified as romance, but they have romance in there. So I did break this down in different sections. Like, you know, kind of subgenres and stuff like that. So the first genre is like paranormal romance. So there's no particular order in this. I just gathered all the ones I deemed kind of paranormal or like fantasy or science fiction, like, you know, stuff that's not like a typical romance, more paranormal, fantasy, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I paired all that together and here it is. So I don't even know where to start. I'm just gonna grab and go. The first is like a classic, and that is Vampire Academy by Rachelle Mead. I didn't read it when it like kind of came out. I kind of read it like later on, but I do still really love it. And I believe I watched the movie first before reading this. The movie is pretty good. I mean, some people don't like it, but I mean, I liked it. I kind of wish they continued with it because it's a good series. So yeah, the first one, I do love the romance. Like, it is slow because there's an age gap and all that, but I liked it and I'm glad I read it. The next one goes along with that one, and that is Bloodlines, also by Rachelle Mead. This is the spin-off series to Vampire Academy. I think I like the Bloodline series a little bit more than the Vampire Academies. That's just me personally, which is weird because I normally don't like spin-off series, but I really love this one just because I love Adrian, I love Sydney, and you do meet them in the near the end of Vampire Academy, and everything. And this book has like other aspects than just being like vampires, because Sydney is actually a human and she's an alchemist, and I do love that aspect of it. And you know, they have like rules against, like, you know, they like hate vampires basically, but she's like seeing them in a different light and she's kind of falling for one, which is against her beliefs and against like the rules of the alchemist and everything. But there's other stuff that she's finding out about herself, and then there's other stuff that she's finding out about the alchemist that she doesn't agree with and all that. So I just love this series so much. The next book was also just a recent discover, and I've heard really good things about it. It also became a TV show and I did start watching it, but I just love it. And I'm surprised I did, because when I first started reading this book, I didn't really get into it, but then like I tried it again and I was like into it. So I guess I just wasn't in the mood at the time. And that is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, and this one is book one of the All Souls trilogy, and it's just so good. But this is more like an adult book because it is really dense. Like, it really is dense. It has a lot of like science in it, which I love science, so I didn't mind that. And just a lot of history, a lot of science, and you know, you get the paranormal aspects, you got the romance, so everything I loved. I haven't yet to finish with the series. I'm on the last one. I just been kind of putting it off. I just don't want to finish it. I love this world, these characters so much that I just like don't want to finish it, but I also do because it's the last book and I want to know what happens. So hopefully I get to the last book pretty soon, but I really love this book. The next book is The Beautifuls by Renee Addier. This one is a newer one, and a lot of people didn't really like it because it was kind of like promoted as a vampire book, but in the first one it's hinted at, but you don't really see the vampires really. I mean, you do, but you don't really know that they're vampires yet. It's very vague and secretive, which I honestly really loved. I love anything that's like really vague and secretive because it just makes me want to know what the heck is going on, what's happening, all this. So that's what really kept me going. Plus, there's romance in here, and it's kind of slow, but kind of also kind of, I'm gonna say instant lovey, but like, because they don't like love each other instantly, but like they, I guess, get this attraction and then builds more. But they also like don't like each other at first, so it's, I don't know how to explain it, but I love it. And I love the second book. And the second book, I would say, to get through this, even though if you don't really like it that much, because the second book gets way better. You see a lot more vampires, you see the werewolves, there's other paranormal creatures in here, you see this whole other world that you didn't even know about in this one. Like, it just grows so much after this book, so I do really recommend this series, even if you're not a big fan of the first one. It gets better after this, and I'm so excited for the third one to see how much more this new world they learn about gets, you know, you get to know it. So I love this copy. It's the Fairy Loot copy. I wish I got the Fairy Loot edition for the Damned because it doesn't match. The size is a lot shorter and they don't have the sprayed edges, and they don't match. I don't like that, but whatever. My next book, I was contemplating whether to talk about it, and I'll say why. But first is Crave by Tracy Wolfe. I really did enjoy this book. People were comparing it to like Twilight basically, but like different, which I can see that, but also too not really. It is different, and I really enjoyed it. But I was contemplating whether to put this on this list because I loved the first book and everything, but I don't know how I feel about the series so far. I have the second book, and I guess I have mixed opinions on the second book. I'm not really sure how I feel on the direction it's going in, because I don't know, I feel like a disconnect from the second book after this one, because it just feels like the characters we meet in this one and Learn to Love are completely different in the second one. Like, they're not even the characters, but there was like also no clues as to them becoming like that, if you get my drift. Like, they were just like whole new characters, but they were actually the same one in this book, but they seem like whole new characters to me. I just didn't like that. There's 2 other books in this series, so it could change the way it's going, and I'm kind of hoping it does, or I don't know, or maybe at least makes me like the direction it's going in. I'm not sure I will. So that's why I was kind of hesitant, because I do really love this book. But anyway, check out the first book, and if you want to continue, you can try, but I really recommend the first book. Next book is a classic for me. I read this so long ago, when I was pretty young, and when I was just like first starting to get into like reading more avidly, because I did like reading when I was younger, but it kind of like got out of it because I was busy with like, you know, other stuff in school. And then I started getting back into reading, and then I guess when I got homeschooled I had more time to read more, so that's what got me more into it. But this one is what really made me love, like, especially like paranormal romances, and that is Alice in Zombieland by Gina Shawwalder. I don't hear this talked about a lot, and that's fine. I love it, whatever. But I feel like it's not really everyone's cup of tea. I feel like I read it when I was such a young age, that, and it is pretty young, like, and the way it's written and everything is pretty cringy and everything, and I do get that, but the plot is just so good and I love it. But yeah, I just have like a connection to it, and not a lot of people are gonna like this nowadays. Like, it's kind of outdated, but I still freaking love it, and I'm rereading it and annotating it. So I had these books, but I think I lost them in the move. I don't know what happened to them, so I had to reorder them used. That's why they look kind of weird, but I miss my copies. I only found 1, and there's 4 books, so I was missing 3 books, which is super weird because I love these books so much. I don't know what happened to them or where they went, but thankfully I have them back now, and I'm rereading them and annotating it. I freaking love the second one. Is probably like my favorite because it just hits me in the feels. Okay, it makes me like feel all the feels. It makes me cry, it makes me mad, it makes me angry, it makes me sad, it makes me love it, it makes like all of that, and I freaking love it. And there's another book on here that kind of reminds me of that in a way, sort of. Like, I love the second book in the series, which I normally don't, so it's weird, but I really love this series so much. It has like a place in my heart. I would say I would recommend, but it might not be everyone's cup of tea. It is written kind of like old school style in a way, like early 2000s, because I think this one was actually published in 2012. So it is kind of like on the later end of early 2000s, but it still kind of reads like that. And some of the stuff in here that she does, like, doesn't really, so there's like the characters text each other, and it has like the texts in here. Let me see if I can find one as an example. So I'm just gonna kind of show you, because it's kind of weird how the author, I guess, is trying to text in teen lingo when I was like this age. I was like a teen back then. I was like, what, probably like preteen going into teens, and we never even texted like this. Even when I got older, even like kids older than me never texted like this. So that's the only thing, but honestly it doesn't bother me that much because I know, you know. So like right here saying I ran into someone and literally put in like I and then the number 2. Okay. Yeah, the same thing here. And then they use like the numbers a lot, like make him work for it, to both just to see you. So like saying like someone will show up, to both just to see you. So, and then like when they say see you, they put like a C and then a U for see you. Like it's really weird. When they say like tomorrow, they put 2 and then morrow. Like it's just really weird. But I mean, it doesn't really take away from the story. And yeah, again, the story is kind of cringy in a way, but I still really love it no matter what, because there's also too many of the plot that I really love, and like the friendships in here, and it's just so funny too, and I just love it. So if you want to try this, you can. If not, that's fine. I love it myself. These two, I wasn't sure if I should put it on here because I didn't know if it was actually paranormal romance or not, but I'm just going to do it because it's kind of like fantasy sci-fi and it has romance. So, and that is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I love this series, the Lunar Chronicle series, and I'm just using the first one, but it's basically like the whole series. And it's basically a sci-fi retelling of, you know, princesses. Like this is Cinderella retelling sorta, and the main character is a cyborg in like the future in this distant planet or whatever. But and the other ones, there's Cinder is not Cinderella, then there is Scarlet, who's the Red Riding Hood like retelling, there's Cress, who is a Rapunzel retelling, and there's Winter, who is a Snow White retelling. Now all these on their own are, yes, retellings, but they also to connect in their story. Like Cinder, you see it, and then introduce you to some other characters, and you go into Scarlet and you start about her story and it merges into this story. And then Cress, also same thing, and Winter. So it kind of starts out you learning the main new character and everything, and then it kind of joins up with the other characters, and it just, everything just connects, especially in the last one and everything. And it's just so good because it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but I just love it. There's romance, but there's also like a good plot line, and that's what I really enjoy about it. I love these new covers. Like, yeah, so you can see like this is Cinder, she's like a cyborg. It's just so cool. It's just really pretty, and they have it for all the other ones. And I just love these series. I love the main characters, I love some of the love interests of each character. So good. The next one is also by the same author, and that is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. I just had to talk about this. I love this series. Also, there is a romance in here, but it's pretty like slow burn because they're kind of enemies. Or at least one of them knows that, the other one doesn't. So basically, it's in this world where these like there's like these superheroes, right? The Renegades, but then there's also these bad guys called the Anarchists. But I love how this book kind of talks about what really is black and white and like gray, because like in a way sometimes the good guys can kind of make bad mistakes and kind of be like, I guess in certain people's perspective, the bad guys, because they think that they're doing what's best, but could not really be what's best, or it could still turn out to be like a mistake or kind of something like bad, but like, you know, kind of hard to explain. And then there's the Anarchists, who from like the Renegades perspectives are the bad guys, but from other people's perspective they could be kind of like the good guys, because what they're trying to like achieve really is kind of like, I guess in a way, equality for the people who have these powers. But because in this world, people who had these powers were like, I don't know, I guess like bullied in a way, or really hated on because by the humans who didn't have powers, because they had powers and they like thought they were like really dangerous. And there was like these renegades who would have these trials to pick like the ones with the powers that they wanted. So in a way, they were also still feeding into that, being like, oh, you're not good enough or whatever, even with powers. And so like the anarchists in a way wanted like equality and everything for all, even everyone who has powers, even if they're not good enough to be a renegade and everything. But they also went about that and sometimes not a good way. So that's like what kind of made them, I guess, the villain, was they kind of went about it in a bad way. And the good guys also too did some good, but they kind of went about some stuff in a bad way because they thought that they were doing their best, but it wasn't. If that makes any sense. I just love the aspect of that in this book of good versus evil, or like that gray area in between. Like it's not always just black and white, basically. You know, a morality question, and I love that aspect. So the main character, Nova, she kind of wants revenge on the Renegades because she sees them as a cause of her family's death. And because like they weren't there to protect them when they said they would, you know, all that. And then her family died while she was like there too. But thankfully she kind of like used her power to get away. And then her uncle, who is the leader of the anarchists, he saved her and everything and kind of set her on this mission. And so in this book she goes, the uncle is apparently dead from this war that they had with the Renegades and everything to stop the anarchists, but she goes undercover to the Renegades because no one really knows about her, or that like she is the niece of the guy who led the anarchist, or you know, stuff like that. Like no one knew about her. She kept her identity pretty much a secret. Like they knew of her that she was like an anarchist, but by her like her anarchist name, but they never knew who that person actually was. So because of that, she was able to infiltrate the Renegades under like a different superhero name, sort of, because they didn't know who the actual person was. Under anarchist she was Nightmare, but they didn't know who Nightmare was, because there's other people in the anarchists that they knew, like the actual person behind masks or the superpowers, but they didn't know who Nova was when she was Nightmare, because she kept her identity pretty much a secret, which helped them in the long run for her to go undercover in the Renegades. I'm talking a lot. I'm gonna stop. But I totally recommend this. I loved it so much. The last 3 books, I know that's a lot, are by the same author, but I just had to talk about these. The first one is, of course, Crescent City, or House of Breath and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This one, I'm speechless. I love this book so much. This was actually my first ever Sarah J. Maas book I read, which is really crazy because this is one, it's an adult, like more high fantasy. And usually if you want to start off with Sarah J. Maas, they say either like Throne of Glass or A Court of Thorns and Roses series, but nope, I started off on this one. So it's crazy, and I don't really read high fantasy, I'm not big into that, but this one was more urban setting, so I got into it, and it was just so good. There was a romance, there was like grief, you know, trauma, all this and that, and I just love it so much. So definitely recommend, and I can't wait for the second one to come out. I decided to start on her ACOTAR series, so I'm gonna mention this one, Aftermath, A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is actually the second book in the ACOTAR series, and again, like I said earlier, I love the second one in the series. It's just so good, and I think a lot of people love the second one, and I just truly love it. I love it so much. It's in the same series, but I just had to mention it because it's different, and that is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, the new one that just came out. This is the dust jacket because I'm currently reading the book and I'm trying to film a reading vlog, so hopefully that goes through and hopefully I can upload that for y'all to watch. But this one's a little bit more smuttier than the other one, because the other series, ACOTAR, was more new adult or young adult, while this one's more adult, which I can see why, but I just love it so much so far. So sorry, my camera ran out of space, so I had to delete some stuff. So the next 2 books are also another part of a series that I just recently found and read, and I don't have the books because I read them as ebooks on my Kindle, but I'll hold them up right here. But the first one is Wolfe Gone Wild. Well, in the series there's basically these sisters who are witches. There's 6 of them, and each witch has like its own specific power. This first one is following one of the sisters, and she is a hex breaker, and the main character is a werewolf, and he has this, I guess, hex put on him where he can't like change, and he's been like that for like 3 months, and it's just really bad. And then like his wolf kind of has like its own personality in his head, and he's like talking to him and everything. It's really weird, but yeah, so he thinks like it's a hex, and so he goes to I think I want to say her name is Evie, I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. But yeah, so it goes to her to try to figure out like what the hex is, how to take it off, all that. And while they're at that, you know, romance, and it's just so cute. I loved it. And the second book follows a different sister, and it is Don't Hex and Drive. The sister we follow, her name is Isadora, and she's a conduit, so she can basically like transfer, I guess, like, you know, kind of like power from one thing into another. So like say like life, she can like kind of like more heal it, because she can take like power from one thing and then like transfer it into someone else for like life in a way. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. I guess it kind of goes like between the perspectives. So the main love interest, the guy love interest, he's a vampire, and he's a very special kind of vampire called Stigorn. I don't know if I pronounced that right or not, but basically like they're a lot like, they have certain other powers. They're more of like, I guess, the vampires bounty hunters in a way, sorta, from what I gathered. And they have certain powers and certain other stuff that not just any normal vampire has. Like, yeah, they have like the normal stuff, like, you know, they're faster, they you know, all that kind of stuff, but he has a little bit extra stuff along with that because he's Sistaborn. But it's pretty interesting. And there's these string of kidnappings in the area, and they find out that it is vampires that are doing this, and so they're trying to figure out what's going on. And so they bring in this Deborah. Isadora is helping because she's a conduit, so she's there to like help like heal them and everything, but then she kind of like gets mixed in with it, and there's a romance, and this one's like a really good romance. It's pretty steamy, they all kind of are, but I just really love it. And I have a feeling that all the books in the series are going to pretty much follow each sister, and you can kind of see already some, you can, I mean, you meet the sisters pretty much in like the first book and the second one, of course, but you kind of see who their love interest is going to be in their own book, and you kind of see like some of the tension. So like the oldest sister, Jules, I believe her name is, she is gonna have her own book, I don't know when, but her love interest is going to be with a vampire also that you meet in the book, and you can already see like there's something there between them. They kind of like hate each other, but something happened between them. There's that sexual tension, so you already meet some of them and kind of like the romances, but like they're gonna have their own book where they sort out all that stuff and everything. And there's another sister too, and her romance is gonna be with a werewolf, and they like hate each other too, and kind of have something, but it's a little different than like Jules, I don't know, stuff like that. So I can't wait to continue with the series, but it's a really good series so far. It's just like a fun paranormal romance series. The next set of books I'm gonna be talking about might not be everyone's favorite, but it's like one of my favorite, and that is like Wattpad books that got published, and a lot of these I've actually read on Wattpad. Before they ever got published, I read them on Wattpad, but then when they got published, of course, everything stuff is going to be different because published and it's more edited and everything, so I checked them out. The first one is The Quarterback, Bad Boy, and Me, and it's just a fun read. You know, it's in high school, and I believe the main character is a cheerleader because she loves to dance, but they don't have a dance team, so she goes on to the cheerleading squad. But she's not really like all the other girls, like liking all that, like, you know, she's more tomboyish because she lives with her brother because their parents passed away, and her brother was like this star quarterback back in his day, but I think he got injured, and so he lost like his scholarship or whatever. And then when their parents died, he just stayed back to take care of her sister, which is the main character. And so yeah, and one day, like, now she's in high school, and there's the star quarterback, Drayton. He hits your car with his motorcycle, I believe, and he's like really annoying to her and everything. And he gets it fixed and all like that. But then, like, I think one day she's at cheerleading practice while the boys are doing football practice, and the football gets like, it gets thrown, but it goes over towards like the cheerleaders, and they're like, hey, can we get that back? She picks it up and like freaking throws it like really good with a good arm. And then I think like he like offers her to be like kind of like his the quarterback, but like so he won't get like injured or something, or because he is injured, I kind of forgot. But yeah, and so she's a girl on the football team because she has a good arm, because her brother was a star quarterback and she used to practice with him a lot, and she's just kind of like the tomboyish vibe. She likes that, she likes football and everything, but she also loves her dance. But she didn't really want to do cheerleading, but they didn't have a dance team, so she just decided to do that so it can look good on her applications for when she does try to go to a dance school. So yeah, this one's really good. I do like it. It's just like a classic one. The next one is She's With Me by Jessica Consolo. This one is a little bit more different, so I love it because it has more of like a plot to it too, besides just like a romance. So this one, the main character Amelia, she arrives in another town, like in a new town. Basically she's in kind of like a witness protection thing, so she has to change her name and everything, and she meets this group of friends, which is one of the aspects I love about this book, is that group of friends. I love it so much. Noah, so good. Love it. They're just like so funny. And then the main guy in the group, I guess kind of like the leader in a way, his name's Aiden, and this does kind of have like that trope of the racing, like, you know, because he does that to make money to take care of his two twin brothers, his younger ones, because his mom passed away, his dad left them, the stepdad is in jail because he was like a messed up dude and everything. So there's a whole bunch of other aspects. And then Amelia comes in and she's in a witness protection program because there's this guy trying to come after her to like kidnap her, kill her, all this and that and everything. And it's just so good. And there's romance, of course, there's friendship, there's drama, there's a plot line, it's just so good and I love it. The second book also just came out, but the third book I believe is coming out this year, and I just can't wait to read it. The next book was probably one of my favorites on Wattpad. I just loved it, and that is The Bad Boy and the Tomboy by, I'm not gonna pronounce the author's name because I don't know how to pronounce it. This one's so good. I was kind of published, but I think she like self-published, but then this one is more like published through publishing company of Wattpad. But anyway, I love it, and there's a second book on Wattpad, and I read it, but I don't think it was like ever really finished or really, you know. So I'm hoping they do the second book published so it can kind of get edited, fixed, some stuff changed, and actually finish it, and I can't wait for that. The next one is Surviving Adam Mead. This one's pretty short. This one's like a hardcover. Not a lot of them are hardcovers, but this one, I remember this one. It is kind of different because I remember like the second one kind of being like more of a second chance romance because they like break up for whatever reason, kind of forgot. And then the second book they go to like college and he's trying to like win her back and everything. I just love that kind of stuff. So but this one didn't really end like where they break up, so I'm hoping maybe it'll continue and have it like that. So this one's actually by a different publishing company. This one's Spoon Reads. The rest is actually from Wattpad's publishing company now. So it's pretty good. It's really short too, so I flew through it and I just can't. I'm hoping she continues with this series just like she did on Wattpad, and I can't wait to read it. The next one is The Upside of Falling by Alex Light, and I also remember reading this one too. This one's also too a hardback, but it's by Wattpad. Oh, this one's Epic Reads, I believe. I don't know what much to say. Some of these kind of are different in their own ways, but constitute kind of like the same kind of like tropes in a way, or just like classic, like high school kind of stuff. So I do like that. I guess this also is different in a way, and that is The Bad Boys Girl by Blair Holden. There's 3 books out right now, but I don't believe that's the end of it because it didn't end right, really. So I'm hoping for the rest. And this one's just a good book. I like the book itself. Like, it's pretty small spacing, but like it's a big book. It's pretty like floppy. So what I believe this one, it deals with like some kind of heavy topics. So the main character, she was kind of like heavy set when she was younger. she was of course bullied for that and everything. And she had this crush on this one guy, Jay, that's his name. And Jay has a brother. Well, it's not really his brother, it's more like a stepbrother, who's Cole. Cole's like his stepbrother, and it's because his dad is married to Jay's mom. So yeah, but she had a crush on Jay for like the longest time ever. But I think Cole would always like bully her and pick on her. But it was that saying, like, you know, I don't know if you knew this, but growing up everyone was like saying, oh, if the boy picks on you or stuff like that, that means they like you. So that's basically this in a nutshell. Like, he would pick on her and not like bully her in a way, but just like pick on her. But she would kind of take it as bullying because she was kind of heavyset, and a lot of other people bullied her because of that. So him picking on her, she just kind of like thought it was like another kind of bullying because she was like fat, that's what she said. So but he wasn't doing that. He was just doing that to get like her attention. Like, that was the only way he could get her attention, because all her attention was on Jay, and so that was his only way to getting her attention. But he was always liked her even when she was heavy set. And then like he goes off to military school, I believe, because something happens. And then when he comes back so many years later, they're in high school, she lost a lot of weight, and she still has a crush on Jay. They're friends, but her ex best friend is now dating Jay, and her ex is like really bitchy towards her. I know a lot of people don't like that, but that's just kind of how it was back then. So Cole comes back and just kind of like shows her, and there's a romance with Cole. Like, I love Cole. Makes her realize stuff and like treats her kind of like the same way, but like still like with that love, because he still like loves her. And she finally like, kind of realized her feelings towards Cole. And then of course once she starts seeing that, that's when Jay kind of comes around wanting her. And I'm just like, seriously, just because you can't have her, that's when you want her? Yeah, so there's that. There's 3 books in this series. It's so good. I love it. But I kind of wanted to be done with already, because like I feel like it is being like kind of stretched out. Or if it is, but it's like, if it's stretched out, that's fine. But the way it's being stretched out is kind of like slow. I'm just like, okay. But I do love it and recommend. Okay, that is all for the Wattpad books. This is gonna be a long ass video. The next is gonna be Other. So this is pretty much like the last stacks of books I'm gonna be talking about. In the kind of title, this is gonna be a long video. I kind of separated them in subgenres. So I kind of have like second chance romance, hate to love, but some of them also have overlapping. Like, I think a few of them have second chance and hate to love, sort of. So I'm just gonna go with it. The first one though, I didn't really know where to place it, so it's just by itself. And that is The Chemist by Stephanie Meyers, who's the author of the Twilight series. This is an adult book, and I absolutely love it. It's not talked about a lot, and it should be, and it's so good. I'm not going to go into it as well because it's kind of confusing, but it's really good. And it has like a romance, but it's kind of like slow burn, and it's different because the main character is kind of like different and not really used to romance or love, so she doesn't really know how to do that or stuff like that. So I just like really love that, and I love this book so much. I really recommend reading. Let's start on second chance romance. This one I'm just gonna grab is Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey. This one is a second chance romance. I really enjoyed it. I believe they are married, but like the marriage isn't really like there anymore, and so they're trying to fix it. They still have like their secrets that they're keeping, and so it's just so good. I really do. I love second chance romance for some reason. And they've been together for like 10 years, and like the romance is just kind of like sizzled out. They're not really communicating or talking or anything like that. So they're trying to find that again and trying to fix and rebuild the marriage and stuff like that. So I really do like this. Next one is The Good Luck Charm by Helena Hunting. This one's a second chance romance because the main character, Lila, her love interest Ethan left years ago to focus on his hockey career, and then he comes back 8 years later, and he thinks that they can just like pick up where they left off, but she's no longer the same girl that she was that she was when he left. He's trying to like win her back, and when she like kind of, I guess, is starting to let him back in, you know, I think she kind of like sees it as him trying to like improve his game, or you know, he's a hockey player or whatever that, like, you know, and he just doesn't want to lose her again. So it's a good, cute romance, and there's other heavier topics in this that I really enjoyed. The next one is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hole. This one is a mixed opinion from certain people because some people don't like it, some people do. I liked it. You have these two main characters, Naomi and Nicholas. They are engaged, and I think they were only dating for a short time, and then they got engaged, and then they moved in, and like with the planning of the wedding and everything, just like nothing was really the same anymore. And they both kind of want out, but whoever wants out has to like pay for the wedding, and neither of them want to do that. So they're kind of like going back and forth at each other. But then while doing that, they're also like, in a way, like trying to revive their relationship. Because he like realizes that he still loves her and still wants her, so he tries everything, and there's like stuff in it that they're still trying to figure out what went wrong, and then when they do see that, they kind of like try to fix it. So I really do like it. It's really funny, heartfelt, and so cute and adorable, and I just love it. Next book is Intercepted by Alexa Martin. This is the first book in the series of the playbook series, I believe it's called. And it has to do with these football players, this football team. She was dating one of the players on the football team for about like 10 years, but then she finds out that he's been cheating, so she dumps him, and they have this new quarterback, Gavin Pope, who happens to be someone from her past. They had a thing in the past, and so now he's back, and she's single, and she's like around, and there's a romance, and it's cute. And for some reason I really do like these sports romances, and they're really short too, so they're really fast to fly through. Really good romance and smut in there. Love it. The next one is The Bromance Book Club by Lissa K. Adams. This one's a really good second chance romance. I believe he was also too like a baseball player. So this one, the romance isn't just like fizzled out. His wife is actually asking for a divorce, and they have, I believe, a daughter, but he recently found out that like she's been faking it in bed with him, and there's also other problems in the relationship, and so she wants a divorce from him. And then his group of friends kind of notice how like down he is with that, and take him in, and they introduce him to this book club that they have, the Romance Book Club, where they read romance book to kind of know how to not like to trade, but kind of know what their women want or like, or stuff like that, you know, because most of the time these romance books that they read are written by women, because like the ones that they're reading is a Regency romance and everything, and kind of helps them get back in there, but it's not gonna help it fully, because the other thing that kind of annoyed me about this book is his wife, or shouldn't be ex-wife, it's also more on her part. She has stuff that she kind of has to deal with that is kind of holding her back from the relationship in a way. There's stuff that they both need to work out on. So yes, in a way the book kind of helps him with like trying to find his like romance again too and everything, but there's other stuff that they still need to figure out, and most of it is her in a way. She still has like stuff that she needs to fix with her family that kind of is holding her back from her own relationship, because she kind of like built up this barrier in a way. It's just a really good book all around. I really enjoyed it. The next stack is more hate to love, but the first one I'm going to talk about is hate to love with a little bit of second chance romance. So that is The Dating Plan by Sarah Desai. This one is hate to love, sorta. Like the main character, her name, Daisy, she kind of is hating on Liam, because in the past it's I don't know, I guess it kind of had a thing, and like he was supposed to take her to her senior prom, but just happened to like ditch her. And he's also to her brother's best friend, but yeah, she had a crush on him for so long, and he was gonna take her to senior prom but ditched her. yeah, stood her up, all that. So now she hates him. And there's also a fake dating trope in this. I totally forgot about that. This is whole main thing is like a fake dating trope, and everything to kind of get her parents off her back about marriage, because she's like an Indian daughter and they just like want her to be married with a nice Indian boy, or you know, just someone nice, not even an Indian boy, because I do approve of Liam. Then Liam, his grandfather passed away, and in his will, the distillery thing that he owns is supposed to be passed on to the oldest son or grandson or whatever. But there was like this tryst with the father. He didn't want to keep up with the family business. He created his own, and so his eldest son followed in the footsteps of his father, and the next son, who's Liam, he got really like loved his grandfather, loved the distillery, and so in the will he was going to give the distillery to Liam when it should have belonged to his brother, if and only if he marries before his next birthday, which is only in a few months. Then he will receive the distillery. So they make up this plan for fake dating, and you know, when that happens, things go from there. Romance, smut, loved it. It was really quick to fly through. It was really cute and just so good. The next one that I hate to love is Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. I just recently read this and I absolutely love it. I can't wait to read the second one and the third one that should be coming out. This one's more like a Regency romance, and I've been kind of getting more into that, and I love it. So she's trying to champion for the women's suffrage movement, and she's supposed to get like men of influence on her side to kind of change the politics and all that. And so she goes after the Duke of Montgomery, and he's like, I don't know exactly how to explain this, but it's just really good. They're like at each other's throats, but there's a sexual tension between them, and it's just so good, and I love it. I am so sorry if I keep on repeating myself over and over and I say it's so good, I love it, all this and that. Like, you guys know I love it if I'm talking about them and romances that I love, but I just can't help myself saying it because I really do love all these books. But I'm so sorry you have to hear that. Hopefully I can edit most of them out, but we'll see. The next one, Hate to Love, is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. The second one just recently came out, but I have yet to read that. But this one's a really cute one. It's like set in this Renaissance fair. The main character, she moves in with her sister after her sister has an accident to help take care of her and her daughter, the main character's niece. And while she's at that, the niece is partaking in this Renaissance fair, but because she's like, I don't know, she's probably like 15 or so, she needs like an adult or a guardian or adult to kind of do it with her in a way. And so her aunt has to do it because her mom is still injured from a car accident. Like, she like broke her leg or something. So it's nothing like dangerous or anything. So she takes part in this, and the main guy who's also a teacher at the school, they don't really get along. They kind of don't like each other. But then after a while, they seem to grow on each other. There's a little sexual tension and romance, and it's so cute. So I really like this one. I need to quit saying that. The last two books are kind of part of a series, and again, Hate to Love. The first one is Geekerella by Ashley Poston. This one is, I guess, kind of like, it kind of reminds me of like You've Got Mail in a way, because they hate each other in person, but they're secretly talking to each other, but they don't know it's each other. And they're like falling in love, or like, you know, with each other because they don't know it, but in real life they like hate each other, if that makes any sense. The main character loves this like certain sci-fi series, like getting a reboot, but she doesn't like the main character that they're getting, who's Darren, I believe. And he's like, she sees him as like the golden boy in Hollywood. He was on like a soap opera type of thing, and so she doesn't think he's really serious, but no one really knows that he's also a huge fan of the series, like, and so he's like perfect for it, but she just doesn't like him or whatever. And then there's this like it's kind of like Comic-Con, but it's called Excelsior, and her dad actually created it, but he passed away, and her stepmom, of course, is evil, and her stepsisters too. It wouldn't be a Cinderella retelling if not, and everything. And there's the pumpkin carriage right there. So I love this retelling. It was so cute. Next one in that series is Bookish and the Beast by Ashley Poston. This one is also another kind of like retelling in Hate to Love. As you can see, it's kind of like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And it's one of the guys that's an actor on that same show with the other character. Like, they kind of all coincide together, and something happened, and he's like in the like news or whatever, and they want him to kind of like go away for a little bit, just like lay low. And so he goes to this place. This girl, like, she was going home one night, and then his dog like runs out, and she like stops and like walks back to the house that she knows that should be abandoned because they're renting it out. So she doesn't know that. So she walks in and be like, hello, is anyone here? She finds a library that's there, and she just starts looking through books because they have like the old editions of the books that made the show in a way. And then she like, they catch her, and it scares her because they're like, what the heck are you doing, when she was just trying to come and return the dog, and she didn't know that anyone was here because it was supposed to, like, no one was supposed to be there. And so she like runs and then like falls in the pool, and it kind of damages the book, and it's supposed to be like a very like rare book in a way, and so she doesn't have the money to pay it, so that is like she'll work there to help the main guy organize this library and everything, and there's a romance. I hope they explained that well. I'm not sure if I did, but it's just, I love these books. They're really like short and sweet and cute and a good retelling. That is officially all the books I have to talk about. This video is going to be so long. Oh, it's going to be a hassle to edit, but I'm glad I talked about. I still probably have a lot on my shelves, but these are just some of them. But I hope you like this. I hope you found any recommendations, or if you've read any of these or want to read any of these, please comment that down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.